Why millions are shocked to see their Social Security check shrink. Right now, across the United States, millions of Social Security recipients are opening their bank statements and asking the same question. Why is my check smaller than I expected? For many people, the shock comes from a dangerous misunderstanding. There's a widespread belief that Social Security benefits are no longer taxed, that somehow those taxes were eliminated or promised away. Unfortunately, that belief is wrong. The reality is far more complicated. If you receive Social Security and you have any additional income at all, your benefits may still be subject to federal taxes. And for many retirees, disabled workers, widows, and veterans, those taxes quietly reduce the amount of money they actually get to keep. What makes this situation especially painful is that most people don't see it coming. They budget based on their gross benefit amount, not realizing that part of their Social Security check may be clawed back through the tax system later. This isn't new. These tax rules have been in place for decades, but because the system hasn't been updated to reflect today's economy, more and more middle-income Americans are getting pulled into a tax trap that was never designed for them. In this series, we're going to break down exactly why Social Security is taxed, who ends up paying those taxes, how the rules really work, and, most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. Because when you've spent a lifetime working, paying into the system, and planning for retirement, the last thing you expect is to lose part of your Social Security to taxes you never knew applied. The 1980s tax rule that still controls your Social Security today. To understand why Social Security checks are being reduced today, we have to go back more than 40 years, to the early 1980s. At that time, lawmakers were worried about the future of Social Security. The system was under pressure, and a special group known as the Greenspan Commission was formed to stabilize it. Their solution included several major changes: raising the retirement age, adjusting benefits, and, for the first time, taxing Social Security income. The logic seemed simple back then. In 1984, Congress decided that wealthy retirees should pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. Income thresholds were set at $25,000 for single filers and $32,000 for married couples. At the time, those levels were considered high retirement income. Most everyday retirees were not affected. Here's the problem. Those income thresholds were never adjusted for inflation. Not once. Not in the 1990s, not in the 2000s, not today. Over 4 decades later, rent has doubled, groceries have surged, healthcare costs have exploded, but the tax rules stayed frozen in time. What was once a tax aimed at the wealthy is now hitting ordinary retirees, people working part-time, widows trying to survive on one income, and disabled Americans supplementing benefits. Many people assume this is a new tax. It's not. It's an old rule applied to a modern economy, and that mismatch is why so many Social Security checks are quietly shrinking. The system didn't change. The world did. Why frozen income thresholds hurt middle-class retirees the most. The most damaging part of Social Security taxation isn't the tax itself. It's the fact that the income thresholds have been frozen in time. The numbers still used today, $25,000 for single filers and $32,000 for married couples, were set in 1984. Back then, those levels were meant to target wealthy retirees. But in today's economy, those figures barely represent financial comfort. This is where middle-class retirees get caught. A modest pension, a small part-time job, a few $1,000s withdrawn from a retirement account. Individually, none of these make someone rich, but combined, they can easily push a retiree over the tax threshold, triggering taxes on Social Security benefits they already paid into for decades. What makes this especially unfair is that inflation moved everything except the rules. Housing costs rose, healthcare costs exploded, food prices climbed, yet the tax bracket stayed frozen, quietly pulling more people into taxation every single year. This phenomenon is known as bracket creep. People aren't earning more in real terms. They're just crossing outdated thresholds that no longer reflect modern living costs. As a result, retirees who consider themselves careful and responsible are often blindsided. They did everything right, worked, saved, planned ahead, and yet they're penalized simply for trying to stay afloat. The tax system wasn't updated, and middle-income Americans are paying the price. This is why Social Security taxes feel like a surprise to so many people. The system is still operating as if it's 1984 while retirees are living in 2025. How combined income determines whether your Social Security is taxed. One of the most confusing parts of Social Security taxation is a term most people never hear until it's too late: combined income. This single calculation determines whether your Social Security benefits are taxed and how much of them the government can touch. Here's how it works. Combined income is not just your Social Security check. Instead, it includes three parts: all of your other income, such as wages, pensions, IRA, or 401k withdrawals, any non-taxable interest you earn, plus half of your Social Security benefits. That last part is what surprises most people. If you receive $30,000 a year in Social Security, the IRS only counts $15,000 of it toward the threshold. But when that amount is added to even modest additional income, many retirees suddenly cross the line without realizing it. For single filers, if your combined income stays below $25,000, your Social Security is not taxed. Between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of your benefits may be taxable. Above $34,000, up to 85% of your benefits can be taxed. For married couples filing jointly, those thresholds are $32,000 and $44,000. The key word here is may. Not everyone in these ranges pays the same amount, but crossing them opens the door to taxation. This system catches people by surprise because it doesn't feel intuitive. A small raise, a part-time job, or a retirement withdrawal can quietly trigger taxes, even when total income still feels modest. Understanding combined income is essential because once you know how it's calculated, you can finally see why your Social Security check looks smaller than expected. Who ends up paying Social Security taxes the most? When people hear about taxes on Social Security, many assume it only affects wealthy retirees. In reality, the groups hit the hardest are often those just trying to stay financially stable. One of the most affected groups is working retirees. Many seniors take part-time jobs to keep up with rising costs, but even modest earnings can push combined income over the threshold, triggering taxes on Social Security benefits. The result is a painful trade-off: work more but keep less. Widows and widowers are another vulnerable group. When a spouse passes away, one Social Security check disappears, but household bills remain. Many survivors return to work or withdraw retirement savings to survive, only to find that this extra income causes their remaining Social Security to be taxed. Then there are people who saved responsibly, Americans who contributed to 401ks or traditional IRAs. Their entire working lives often face a harsh surprise in retirement. Required withdrawals count as income, pushing combined income higher and exposing Social Security benefits to taxation. In effect, planning ahead can lead to higher taxes later. Disabled workers receiving SSDI face similar challenges. Those who try to work within allowed limits to supplement their income may unintentionally trigger taxes on their benefits. Even veterans are not exempt. VA benefits or part-time income combined with Social Security can push veterans into taxable ranges. The common thread is clear: the people trying hardest to make ends meet are often the ones penalized the most by outdated tax rules. Why Social Security taxes fund the system and the dangerous trade-off. Here's where the conversation around Social Security taxes becomes complicated and uncomfortable. As unfair as these taxes feel, the money collected from taxing Social Security benefits doesn't disappear. It actually flows back into the Social Security Trust Fund. Every year, billions of dollars collected from retirees paying taxes on their own benefits are used to help keep the system running. In fact, in recent years, over $50 billion annually has gone back into the trust fund from Social Security taxation alone. That creates a painful dilemma. On one hand, the tax thresholds are outdated and unfair. They hit middle-income retirees, widows, disabled workers, and veterans, people who were never meant to be targeted. On the other hand, eliminating these taxes without replacing the revenue would accelerate the financial crisis facing Social Security. According to current projections, the Social Security Trust Fund is expected to be depleted in just over 7 years. When that happens, benefits are automatically cut by about 23% for everyone: retirees, disabled workers, and future beneficiaries alike. If taxes on Social Security were removed entirely without a replacement plan, experts warn those cuts could be even deeper. This is why simple promises like no taxes on Social Security sound appealing but hide serious consequences. The real problem isn't just taxation, it's decades of political inaction. Lawmakers froze income thresholds, delayed reforms, and kicked hard decisions down the road. Now retirees are caught in the middle, paying more today to avoid losing even more tomorrow. This trade-off is why Social Security taxes remain one of the most misunderstood and emotionally charged issues in retirement planning. The states that tax Social Security on top of federal taxes. For many Social Security recipients, federal taxes are only part of the problem. Depending on where you live, your benefits may also be taxed at the state level, creating a double hit that quietly reduces your monthly income even further. As of now, 9 states still tax Social Security benefits in some form: Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, Montana, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia. Each of these states applies its own rules. Some offer partial exemptions based on age or income. Others tax benefits more aggressively. But the result is often the same. Retirees see less of their Social Security check than they expected. What makes this especially frustrating is that many people don't realize their state taxes Social Security until they file their return. There's no warning on your benefit statement, no clear notice when you move or retire. The reduction often shows up months later, long after budgets are set. For retirees living on fixed incomes, state taxes can be devastating. Federal taxes may already reduce benefits by up to 85% of taxable income. When state taxes are layered on top, the combined impact can feel overwhelming. This is why location matters more in retirement than most people realize. 2 retirees with identical benefits can end up with very different take-home income simply because they live in different states. For some, relocation is not realistic. Family, healthcare, and housing keep people where they are. But for others, understanding state tax rules can inform long-term planning decisions that save thousands of dollars over time. Ignoring state taxes doesn't make them go away. Knowing where you stand is the first step toward protecting what you've earned. The one critical step most people forget. After filing taxes, there is one step that can quietly cost Americans thousands of dollars in future Social Security benefits, and most people never do it. Every year, after filing taxes, millions of workers and retirees assume their job is done. The IRS is finished. The paperwork is over. They move on. That assumption is dangerous. After you file your taxes, you should always check your Social Security earnings record at SSA.gov. This record determines how much you will receive in retirement, disability, and survivor benefits, and mistakes happen far more often than people realize. Employers can misreport wages. Social Security numbers can be entered incorrectly. Earnings can be missing entirely. When that happens, the money you paid into the system through FICA taxes may not be fully credited to your account. And here's the painful part. If you don't catch these errors early, they can be extremely difficult or impossible to fix later. Many people don't discover missing earnings until they apply for benefits in their 60s. By then, companies may be out of business. Records may be gone. Proof becomes nearly impossible to obtain. In some cases, correcting an earnings record has increased monthly benefits by hundreds of dollars, permanently. That's thousands of dollars per year for the rest of someone's life. Social Security no longer mails annual statements to most people. Checking your record is now your responsibility. It takes about 5 minutes, but skipping it can cost you decades of income. This is not optional. It's one of the most important financial habits you can build. How small income changes can trigger big Social Security taxes. One of the most frustrating realities of Social Security taxation is how small income changes can create big financial consequences. Many people believe taxes only apply after a major raise or a large withdrawal. In truth, even a few $1,000s of extra income can be enough to push you over the line. Consider a common situation. A retiree receives Social Security and decides to work part-time, earning just a few extra hours a week, or a widow takes a small withdrawal from a retirement account to cover unexpected expenses, or a disabled worker earns modest income within allowed limits. On their own, these choices seem reasonable, even responsible. But when that income is added to the combined income calculation, it can push someone past the $25,000 or $32,000 threshold. Suddenly, up to 50% of Social Security benefits become taxable. With slightly more income, that jumps to 85%. What makes this especially painful is the lack of warning. There is no alert from the IRS, no message from Social Security, no notice saying, if you earn $2,000 more this year, your benefits will be taxed. People find out months later when the tax bill arrives. This creates a psychological trap. You earn more, but you keep less, sometimes far less. The system discourages flexibility, it punishes part-time work, it penalizes modest withdrawals, and it makes planning extremely difficult for people living close to the threshold. That's why understanding where you stand is critical. Knowing your combined income before making changes can prevent unpleasant surprises and protect your Social Security from unnecessary taxation. Why no taxes on Social Security promises can backfire. Few phrases sound better to retirees than this one. No taxes on Social Security. It feels fair, it feels overdue, and emotionally it makes sense. After all, Americans paid into Social Security their entire working lives. Being taxed again in retirement feels like double taxation. So when political leaders talk about eliminating Social Security taxes, many people understandably cheer. But here's the hard truth. Removing those taxes without a replacement plan can actually make the problem worse. Right now, when Social Security benefits are taxed, that money doesn't disappear into the general budget. It flows directly back into the Social Security Trust Fund. Every year, tens of billions of dollars from benefit taxation help keep the system afloat. If that revenue suddenly vanished, the trust fund would drain faster than expected. Instead of projected benefit cuts of around 23% in the future, experts warn cuts could be significantly deeper. That's the uncomfortable trade-off. Eliminating Social Security taxes feels like relief today, but without reform, it increases the risk of larger benefit reductions tomorrow for everyone: current retirees, disabled workers, future beneficiaries. This is why simple promises are dangerous. They focus on one pain point while ignoring the system as a whole. The real solution isn't slogans. It's comprehensive reform, updating income thresholds, modernizing COLA formulas, and creating sustainable funding sources. Until that happens, beneficiaries need to understand reality as it is, not as it's promised to be, because planning based on political sound bites instead of actual rules can lead to serious financial surprises. Legal strategies that can reduce Social Security taxes. The good news is this: while Social Security taxes feel unavoidable, there are legal strategies that can reduce how much of your benefits are taxed, if you plan ahead. The first strategy involves managing when and how you take income. For retirees with traditional IRAs or 401ks, withdrawals count as taxable income and increase combined income. Taking large withdrawals in a single year can push you into higher tax ranges. In some cases, spreading withdrawals out or delaying them until required can help reduce the impact on Social Security taxes. Another powerful tool is Roth conversions. Money withdrawn from a Roth IRA does not count as taxable income and does not increase combined income. Converting some traditional retirement funds to a Roth over time before claiming Social Security can significantly reduce future tax exposure. Timing also matters. Some retirees benefit from delaying Social Security while drawing down retirement accounts earlier. Others do better by claiming benefits first and delaying taxable withdrawals. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, which is why individualized planning is so important. State taxes are another factor. If you live in a state that taxes Social Security, relocating, even within the same region, can reduce your overall tax burden dramatically over time. For some retirees, this decision saves thousands of dollars per year. Finally, professional guidance matters. A tax professional or retirement planner who understands Social Security rules can help structure income legally and strategically. These strategies don't eliminate taxes entirely, but they can prevent unnecessary losses. And when every dollar of Social Security matters, smart planning becomes a form of self-protection. Why checking your Social Security earnings record is non-negotiable. There is one habit that can protect your future Social Security benefits more than almost anything else, and yet most Americans never do it. Every year, You should check your Social Security earnings record. This matters especially for younger workers, but it applies to everyone. Your earnings record is the foundation used to calculate your retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. If the information is wrong, your future check will be wrong permanently. Mistakes happen more often than people realize. Employers misreport wages. Payroll systems fail. Social Security numbers are entered incorrectly. Entire years of earnings can be missing. When that happens, the FICA taxes you paid may never be fully credited to your account. And here's the danger. The longer you wait, the harder it is to fix. If you catch an error within a year or two, correction is usually straightforward. But if you wait until your 60s to discover missing earnings from your 20s or 30s, proving that income can be nearly impossible. Companies close, records disappear, documentation is lost. The financial impact can be massive. Correcting an earnings record can increase monthly Social Security benefits by hundreds of dollars every month for life. That's not a one-time gain. It's permanent income. Social Security no longer mails annual statements to most workers. Checking online at ssa.gov is now your responsibility. It takes 5 minutes. But skipping it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars over retirement. This isn't optional. It's essential financial maintenance, just like filing taxes or paying bills. Why the system is broken and what Congress has failed to fix. At the heart of Social Security taxation lies a simple truth. The system is outdated, and Congress has failed to modernize it for more than 4 decades. The income thresholds that determine whether Social Security benefits are taxed were set in 1984. Since then, inflation has reshaped the economy. Wages rose, housing costs soared, healthcare expenses exploded, but the rules stayed frozen. This failure wasn't accidental. For years, lawmakers have avoided difficult decisions. Updating income thresholds would reduce tax revenue flowing into the Social Security Trust Fund. Reforming the system would require political compromise. So instead of fixing the problem, Congress chose inaction. The consequences are now unavoidable. More retirees are being taxed every year, not because they are wealthier, but because the system no longer reflects modern reality. Middle-income Americans are quietly pulled into taxation through no fault of their own. At the same time, Congress continues to delay broader Social Security reform. The trust fund faces depletion in the coming years, and yet meaningful solutions remain stalled. Politicians talk about protecting Social Security, but real fixes are repeatedly postponed. This creates a dangerous cycle. Retirees pay more taxes today to prop up a system that still faces future benefit cuts. Younger workers contribute to a system whose rules may change before they ever retire. The frustration many Americans feel is justified. This is not a failure of personal planning, it is a failure of policy. Until lawmakers act, individuals are left to navigate a broken system alone, armed only with information, preparation, and careful planning. Final takeaways: how to protect yourself in a broken system. After breaking down the history, the rules, and the hidden mechanics behind Social Security taxation, one conclusion becomes impossible to ignore. The system is not designed for today's retirees, and it hasn't been for a long time. The tax rules controlling your Social Security check were written in the 1980s. They were never updated for inflation. They were never adjusted for modern retirement realities. And as a result, millions of Americans are paying taxes they never expected and never planned for. This is not a personal failure. It's a structural one. Until Congress modernizes the system, the responsibility falls on individuals to protect themselves. That starts with understanding how combined income works, knowing where you stand relative to the tax thresholds, and recognizing how small income changes can trigger large tax consequences. It also means being proactive, checking your Social Security earnings record every year, planning withdrawals carefully, understanding state tax rules, and getting professional guidance when needed. Social Security was meant to provide stability and dignity in retirement. But without knowledge, even guaranteed benefits can be quietly reduced. The goal isn't fear, it's preparedness. You may not be able to change the system overnight, but you can change how you navigate it. And in a system that hasn't kept up with reality, information is the strongest form of protection you have, because this is your money. You earned it. And protecting it isn't just smart, it's necessary.